Art Committee meeting. We appreciate you guys on that. I don't know if this chief attended the Prairie Village Police Chief Roberson's retirement. As you might know, Chief Roberson is now our Johnson County Sheriff, so congrats to him. Of course, continuance in serving the public and Johnson County. Several council members and staff attended the 49th Street public meeting. Several citizens showed up and signed the right of way. Release documents like this. I and several council members and staff attended the Northeast Chamber of Commerce State of the Cities address. That particular address, all Northeast cities got the opportunity to talk about their accomplishments during 2024, and we had a lot to share. And the council president, Mr. Engel, prepared tonight's agenda. Mr. Engel said at the county commissioners meeting, were available to give testimony, although we did not, on the desire to purchase the old Antioch building, on the Antioch Library building, excuse me. And they have agreed to allow us to purchase that, and we'll be going forward with that purchase either first of next week sometime. We'll be taking that next step. I and several council members and staff took it to City Hall, and the Chiefs apparently supported their run for another Super Bowl win. How about those Chiefs? This is the hard one yet, but I got that storage from the last one. Hopefully, maybe we can do it. So let's see, what else do we have? Council member attended Zoom meeting with a community for all ages, incentivizing universal design and multifamily development. The council member also attended the MCC Foundation annual meeting, and the council member attended the Mark Zoom meeting with the First Suburbs Coalition. So that's the things I have. Did I miss anything from the other people that I was unaware of? Okay. All right. Well, that will conclude the mayor's report. Next item up is council items, and the first item we have on it is consider or authorize purchase of mobile data terminals, and we have the chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have before you is the purchase of 12 mobile data terminals for our patrol cars. Basically, those are computers that we use to receive dispatch calls in the field. They also operate our mobile cameras. We replace them around every 5 to 8 years, depending on how much technology is advanced. We buy semi-rugged or ruggedized units for the cars we have to run on weather, the heat and the cold in the units when you're sitting outside, and the vibrations from being inside the car. We did put this in this 2025 budget. We are $1,500 over budget. Because oversight on my part, where one of our units has a specialized NDT in it because we set it up a little bit differently to allow ride-alongs for civilian staff or for our training. So we're doing FTO training. So that unit is fully ruggedized. We're doing semi-rugged. So it's $1,500 extra. That was addition on my part. So we do have the funds in that account to cover the $1,500 overage. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Silvers.
You might have answered this already, but I just want to clarify. 11 of them were bundled under item grouping number 1 and 1 within the 5. So the one that's being mentioned as the specialized item is the one under item 5.
The 11 are computers, actual laptop computers for semi-rugged. The 12th one is a tablet without a keyboard. We set it up differently, but they don't make a semi-rugged version of that. That's the
Any other questions for the chief? Any other questions? I would entertain a motion for that item. Mr. Silvers.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve the purchase of the mobile data terminals for the police department.
Okay. Ms. Shawnee.
Mr. Mayor, second.
We've got a motion second, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yadrich.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So the next item up is, consider approval of an agreement with Johnson County for the funding of the 2025 street drainage sewer project. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our 2025 street and drainage improvement project includes a replacement or lining of stormwater pipe, a mill and overlay, and spot replacement of curb and sidewalk. And the project location is 61st Street east of Antioch, party from Johnson Drive to 61st Street, and 59th Terrace, 60th Street, and 60th Terrace east of Hardy to city limits. In 2024, we applied for Johnson County Stormwater Funds, and we were happy to find out that we were eligible to receive the funds. The agreement approved, I apologize, I can't talk tonight. The agreement lists the policies and procedures for obtaining reimbursement, and also allows us to reimburse 50% of the construction costs for stormwater not to exceed $545,350. Design is underway with construction estimated to begin late spring or early summer, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from Mr. Company? Well, is there a motion here to make, or any questions? I would entertain a motion then.
I'll make it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just move things along. All right. Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve an agreement with Johnson County for funding the 2025 street and storm drainage improvement project.
There was a motion, do we have a second? Go ahead. Please, Mr. President, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Ham. Aye. Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder. Aye. Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yagich. Aye. Councilmember Shavetta. Aye. Councilmember Kozmeyer.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up is consider a resolution of intent to finance utility undergrounding.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Next item on the agenda is resolution of intent to finance utility undergrounding project with the issuance of debt. This is the exact same type resolution that you approved at your last meeting. As background, Capital Electric, which is the subcontractor for Evergy, has already started to do the utility undergrounding out on Shawnee Mission Parkway. That's a $5 million project that the City Council approved and put in the budget, I think, first in 23, and then we updated the budget in 2024. Should be completed in mid-July, we hope. It is staff's current plan to pay cash for that project, pay for it out of our TIF budget. That has been our intention all along. However, as the Mayor mentioned, we just closed on the library staff, or we're getting ready to close on the library. The Board of County Commissioners just approved the ratification of that contract. And so your staff is looking for highest and best use for that library project for the benefit of our community. And as we're doing that, we're looking at financing for whatever might come our way. We're investigating a variety of things that would benefit that site and our public in turn. One of the things, as we talked to our financial advisor and bond counsel, is that it would make sense, just as a tool in the toolbox, that if something were to come our way, that we would have the ability to bond this. So, for example, if we decided we wanted to develop the library property and we were going to borrow money, it might be advantageous to include that in the bond financing. So, approval of this resolution just enacts the ability to do that. Our intent is still to pay cash, just like it is to buy the library with cash. This resolution does not prevent us from paying cash for the utility undergrounding, nor does it obligate us to borrow money. We have no intent currently to borrow money for the utility undergrounding. It's simply a tool in the toolbox that, to be quite honest, makes perfect sense to staff. If we need it, we would utilize it. We would have to come back to council and ask. That's all. This is just an enacting or resolution to make sure that that option is available to us. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, Mr. Engel? Go ahead, Mr. President.
Is there a timeline where you would know whether it's best to go with the cash option or the bonding option?
There's a 60-day look back on this resolution, so it would be within 60 days.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we would, if somebody were to show up tomorrow and say, we've got the grooviest thing in the whole world, and it's gonna cost us more money than we're comfortable spending, and therefore we would want to bond for whatever that groovy thing is, it may behoove us, it may not, to include either the cost of the library and or the cost of utilities undergrounding in that project. I can't tell you that it will, I can't tell you that it won't, but we have to pass these resolutions before we spend the money. So that was the reason that before we could close on the library, we approved the last resolution. Before we pay our first invoice for the utility underground, which is actually already started, we have to have this passed. So we're simply just trying to get in before the invoice is paid, because then there's a 60-day look back.
Okay.
A lot of information that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. So that means that in the next 2 months or so, not
Absolutely.
like in 6 months?
No, yeah,
Okay.
there's a ticking clock on our ability to do this.
Perfect, thanks.
Is that yours, Mr. Coleman, or do you have something else? Mr. Silver, thank you.
As long as I've been on council, we haven't done this, but are there any projects that come to mind that we've used this bond option?
Not this option quite like this. We borrowed money for the community center. We've borrowed money in the past. We generally have chosen cash finance, which I think is a very wise decision if we have the means to do so. And we currently have the means to do so here, and that is our intent. We're simply just reserving the right to do that. So, probably, this is the first time we've ever done this ordinance to preserve the right to borrow after the fact. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Usually we've known beforehand, hey, we're gonna borrow money for this. This, we're just simply enacting it because we don't know what's gonna happen at the library.
Any other questions, Mr. Irvin? Seeing no other questions, I would entertain a motion. Mr. Ting.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council approve a resolution of intent to reimburse the city for the cost of utility undergrounding project through the future issuance of debt.
We have a motion, do I have a second? Ms. Huckabee.
Mr. Mayor, second.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion, a second.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Lahey.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodridge.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Cosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We discussed that pretty quick. Looks like our next item up is our monthly finance report. Oh, our first reading. Great.
I'm so excited. Good evening, Mayor, Council. So before you, you should have got it with your packet, is the December 2024 financial report and investment report. As this coincides with our end of the year, as you're all aware, December 31st marks the end of the fiscal year 2024. I thought it might be beneficial just to go through some key financial highlights since you essentially have preliminary numbers through the end of the year in front of you. If at any point you want me to stop, let me know. I'm going to make it relatively quick and painless, hopefully. So then this will kind of coincide. If you want to flip through, feel free. If not, that's okay too. So as far as revenues go, you'll see that practically every revenue that we have came in over budget, which is absolutely wonderful. It means that we're conservatively budgeting, but also that the economy is doing well. There's decent indicators going on. The only one that came in close, slightly under budget, was the city use tax, which is to be expected. You'll see that we have some overperforming revenue sources. The Merriam Community Center, they did amazing this year and came in at over $300,000 over budget. Also, our real property taxes came in largely over budget. So those are amazing numbers to see. On the flip side, you'll see that our expenditures came in under budget in almost every case, especially when you're looking at our significant expenditure categories. For example, our salaries and benefits came in almost $300,000 under budget, which really just goes to show how awesome the city is doing at managing personnel and overtime and all those things. And again, the Merriam Community Center, I know that they're working really hard on their budget, so not only on revenues did they come in high, but on expenditures, they came in at 96% of their budget. So kudos to them. And then when we look at our metrics, obviously we had a deficit when it comes to the net position change, so we did overspend this year when you look at expenditures compared to revenues. However, they were all planned for. We anticipated going into the budget for 2024 that you would overspend a little with some improvement projects that were in place. So it was not over budget unplanned. It was planned to fund your CIP. And then as far as cash and investments go, obviously we have about $59 million in investments. About 91% of those are in federal securities, which is a really safe, comfortable place to put the money if you're going to. And then we do about almost 9% in a cash account that's gaining a little bit lower levels of interest, but still really it's easier for us to access our money when we spread out where we're investing it. And then when we look at our outstanding obligations, we still are paying on the general obligation bond for the community center. That is from 2018. And then we have the I-35 redevelopment fund commitment, which is the $26.8 million one that we are also paying on. A few key observations. If you're looking at the year, sales tax collections increased by about 0.8%. Which is really driven by a moderate growth in auto sales and other retail categories. Again, the Merriam Community Center is going strong and had a really strong performance this year with their memberships and programming. And then when it comes to expenditure management, savings were achieved across multiple areas, including salaries, fire services, and utilities. So I would love to see that for 2025 as well. And then the last one, for capital investments, we had a few noticeable purchases, some planned for, some not, with our HVAC system upgrades and a large amount of different tools and a Bobcat utility vehicle. So it's amazing that we have the money to be able to invest in those types of things. But yeah, so our highlights is that our sales tax rate is still very competitive at the 9.4. For this area, our bond rating is AAA, the highest it can be, stable. We have debt retirement coming, will be fully paid off by 2027 for the 2018 bonds. And then our assessed property valuation is still holding very strong at $290 million, with about 50% commercial and then the rest residential and other. And then we keep seeing that increase in our households every census. So as you can see, it was a very strong year for us financially, and I'm very excited to be a part of that. So I think next time we actually end our 2024, we close out the year and make it so we can't book anything else at the end of this month. We wait and see if any invoices are going to come in and charge to last year. So we give a little bit of grace on that. And so hopefully at the next council meeting, I have a report to give you that will highlight some more of this information, and that you can take with you and will be part of the packet for the public as well. But that is just kind of a brief overview. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any, but like I said, next time I'll make sure you have a little bit more meat and potatoes on that once the numbers feel a little more secure for end of the year meetings.
Any questions for Director Board?
Questions? Thank you guys.
Okay. Good job. All right, looks like next item I believe is going to be our community development update.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, Brown Dyer Community Development Director. Again, first of the year, just our grant applications opened up. I think the weather had completely anything effect on our applications we had. There's obviously some pretty gnarly weather out there. So didn't get a lot of applications in, but very much like last year, we had the same situation anticipated. As the weather warms up and folks get outside, they'll see projects they want to do, and the applications will start to come in. So again, anybody that has projects for kind of sustainability or any kind of exterior improvements, please see Mr. David Easley, and we'd like to get them started on those grant programs. Just an update, quick update on Merriam Grand Station. It continues to go as scheduled, apace. They are now working primarily on the west apartment complex as well as the amenities that are going to be in between those two complexes. So they continue again, as I said, to be on schedule. A couple also things that we are working through, in this time of the year. First one is our community rating system. We have a 5-year, renewal of that. Community rating system is a FEMA program. It's a program where, communities participating in the CRS program receive a reduction in the rates of flood insurance for the residents. So, we have our 5-year renewal of that. So we're working together all the documents and getting preparation for the site visit for that. And then we're also our end of the year stormwater pollution report that we do. Essentially, it's a report that we do to the state and the EPA requirements for all the things we do to reduce the amount of pollution in the stormwater system. So that I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director Dyer? See no questions. Thank you, sir. Okay, next item up is single hauler update. Ms. Garth, coming to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have a quick update. You've seen this slide a number of times before. We're still on schedule with our single hauler process. The RFP is out to bid right now. That bid does close on February 14th. There is a mandatory pre-bid meeting for any haulers that are wishing to bid on the project. That's this Friday at 10 a.m. It's obviously open to the public. It's included on our webpage and on the city's calendar online as well. Following that process, we're hopeful to have a number of bids. We really don't know at this point, but we're hopeful to have a number of bids come in, and then the work group that was established to write the RFP can evaluate those bids, come up with a recommendation to then bring to the city council in hopefully a work session type meeting. So we can kind of go over everything that we've done up to this point, everything in the bids, everything in the RFP, and we can kind of just comprehensively have a conversation about next steps before you all have to make any decisions. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions from Ms. Garth? Okay, go ahead, Mr. President.
How soon after all of the bids are received are you going to have, estimates on like how much people, monthly cost will be?
Well, as soon as I read them, I'll know immediately.
Will you be able to provide?
Yeah, of course. It's just going to depend when I can get that work group together, to be honest. Hopefully within a week or so after the bids, we can all get together to kind of start to review those. I want to make sure that once the bids come in, that it's a pretty extensive bidding process as to what kind of documentation the haulers are going to need to fill out, make sure they have insurance requirements, all those things. So I want to make sure that those are valid bids before I kind of release them out into the world. But hopefully there's going to be a number of them that we can start looking at from the work group. I know we have a couple council members on that work group too, before I bring them back to you all for consideration.
So the meeting on Friday, are you expecting that you're going to walk through it with all of the people and then they're going to ask questions after that?
Yeah, that's exactly
it. And it's here at City Hall?
It is, yes. It's upstairs in the community training room. I'm going to be walking through the RFP pretty extensively, and I'm not going to read it verbatim, but pretty extensively. We also did have to issue an addendum. There's been a number of questions already, mostly clarifying questions from the RFP that we've had to answer, that we've issued. So I'll walk through that as well. And if there are any additional questions, I'll make sure that those are answered at that time, if I can.
And just to clarify, that meeting is required for someone to submit a bid, so you would have the opportunity to talk to anybody that submits a bid.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Because I'm in the work group, I saw the addendum, and I'm sure when you go through the RFP with them, you'll make sure you know that some of the extra questions we asked were not mandatory for selection, that they were, hey, the city also covers this service. If we would like to outsource it, do you provide it? And if you win the bid, could you do it?
Absolutely.
Good point. I should have asked you this before, but the mayor's group and all the mayors in Kansas have been talking about this particular subject. Are you aware of that? Have you been on any of that? No.
I'm happy to talk to anyone about it, though.
There's a lot of other cities out there discussing this right now.
Okay, they're watching us. All right. Good.
No other questions? All right, well, next item up is just informational items. We have a public art committee that met, as I mentioned earlier, and we have minutes in the any questions for us right now, and we'll just cover that. All right, well, gosh, we're just kind of clicking around the line here. I understand we're having a session. Do you have anything, from staff, Mr. Mayor?
Just two quick items. We have a legislative lunch scheduled with our state reps on February 4th. Please RSVP with Caitlin if you are interested and able to attend. That will be in Topeka, I believe. In the past, we've caravan, city just put everybody in the car. We're happy to do that again. And then city council goals and objectives are due by Friday, February 14th. It's not required that you have any. We are amply busy, but we have not received any. I think as a reminder, those are budget goals, so those would be goals that as we start to put together the fiscal year 26 budget, what are some things that the council would like to see? We will carry over all of the existing ones unless we've accomplished them, but again, we're looking for more.
Do the ones with Valentine's get more consideration?
That is up to your colleagues.
Any questions or Mr. Abel?
I have a quick question.
Okay, go ahead.
So there are some specific goals and objectives that if we want to keep them, but there are initiatives that we previously discussed as part of those goals and objectives that have not been implemented, they aren't goals and objectives, right? But they are things we have talked about as falling under those. Can we just shoot those as an email, as saying it's reminders?
Sure, absolutely.
Rather than including them in a new document?
Sure.
And say, hey, what about this?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
That was all. Well, I understand that there is an executive session this evening. Have we ratified how much time we're going to need for?
Yes.
All right, thanks, sir. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move that the governing body recess into executive session for preliminary discussion related to property acquisition pursuant to KSA 754319B6, which allows the governing body to hold an executive session for preliminary discussion of property acquisition. Present will be the governing body, a city attorney, city administrator, public works director, and public works director's on each one.
Sorry, it should be community
development director. I just walked out the door. The meeting will reconvene in the council chambers at 8:05.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Okay, Ms. Shepard.
Mr. Mayor, second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Shoulders.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Cosmeyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
And we are going upstairs.
That's correct.
Right, because there are a bunch of us.
Well, we have to come back down to adjourn.
Yes, 8:05.
And anybody's welcome to stay if you would like, if you weren't on that list of going upstairs, but, when we come back, we'll adjourn. Upstairs is where we're headed.
Starting the card. Okay. Oh, thank you. You make a good point. Thank you.
Did you catch he said that he doesn't intend to finance, but literally on the projector it says resolution of intent? Yeah, but...
And they did it for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the legalese of it, but yeah, in 10 years I haven't seen this before, so we'll see.
City trees or...
Howdy.
Which tree?
I know it's optional, but I mean, well, it's the core. I mean, I just.
Oh, there's like tons there.
Well, I just want to.
Yeah, I haven't got anything.
Kind of impact.
Yet, so I don't think we have anything going on.
When you hear what.
I'm trying to stay a little bit too, to see if we can.
I know I haven't seen this at all.
I just figure when you hear what they're saying or what they're doing.
You get close up to more.
When am I getting you close to? Oh, yeah, I'll text while I drive the city vehicle. Yeah, because I'm sure it has Bluetooth connection. Not my truck. My truck has Bluetooth.
No, I was just talking about people coming
Yeah.
to use it.
I don't think the police interceptor has Bluetooth. So that's what I'm driving on.
They're,
Yeah.
alright, I'll see a little bit.
All right.
If we get dispatched to the fire call, it'll go up there if we don't know.
On the radio,
Well, but if only if you were scanning fire frequency, because again, if we hear ours, if we're dispatched to a fire on the radio, but if we're not sent, then we'll hear, I'm sure, listen to the fire machine.
I didn't actually have it on my hardware scanner.
Yeah.
That's very smart on that, but I know.
And we are dispatched to the vast majority of fire calls. Anyway, so, yeah, those are. Check deck, we have.
I remember it always pretty good. Just got hard to get this over time.
And we don't look back and say we have to be a fire hydrant that was.
What was the transparency of the new cameras being different from the old ones?
Well, the change really is actually, you see Channel 5, they came out with a little thing with the folks all about it. There's not a huge difference between our old cameras and new cameras, and the things that they'll do, the new system is better, and it's better technology, it's more, one of the coolest things that we can do now, the case files, video, cool pictures and whatever, system, and also say like, have something figure out, bring your camera on it, I can send you a link that and you upload it and it puts it right in a case file. asked about the, sharing video live. It has that capability, but there's some nuance there about, you know, sharing. I don't necessarily want to share live video of someone that's like, you know, some mental health calls we go on, so like the, you know, throes of their crisis and having, you know, spearing that all over the course. It's not fair to them, you know what I'm saying? So, I think it's a good idea to some degree. I just don't know the logistics behind it or how you would actually do that. A virtual level, I'm sure there's some research that can be done. It might be a good idea in some fashion. I agree with you.
It's really recording most of the show, right? I would think they've been only recording most of the show.
Yes. So the body cameras and in-cars have a pre-record. So it's like, it's all, basically.
But they haven't identified the thing.
We can go back and get it if we don't save it, but it's not high quality. So they're always technically recording, and they also don't have audio. It's just video on the shield button. They'll capture that first 30 seconds, whatever we recorded, and gauge that.
So if you want to say, well, you know, do something you want, like,
Right. And battery life is really hard to
okay.
because you're recording at a higher resolution and an audio, where it's higher shield. So we have policy that says, okay, don't try to stop on. You have contact with a citizen that you think is, you know, sour in some way or have, you know, conversations that you're not here wrong. You know, if you're just going into a business setting where you're station right to record, you don't need 45 minutes of someone sitting at a computer typing up. Or, you know, there's some value in that. Battery time, very light. Storage, you gotta pay storage too, so yeah, it's not on 24/7 in the terms that, you know, you go down for 8 hours of video. But we do have the capability if someone forgot to turn their camera on and they want to go back and get it. We have the capability to go back and get at least some low quality video without audio.
That's the next generation of video.
God only knows what the next generation is going to be. Billy, you and I both know that technology is advancing so fast, especially with the AI stuff.
Sure, the capability, you know, and I don't know what you're getting per hour. Like, some drives can be like 500 gigs an hour. I think the cheap happy ones are like 5 bucks. Like,
You know, but your other problem is storing it. Yeah, there's still an expense there, but you know, you still have to transfer it. You know, and you know, as your videos get bigger and bigger, because you have resolution goes up and up. You know, yeah, I can send it to you, but you need to download it to your computer. So you know what? Right, exactly. You know, so there's a balance, and we're all trying to work through what the hell is, you know, the good balance versus bad balance. You know, what's practical, what's not practical, what is, you know, pie in the sky, but, you know, pie in the sky costs what, you know, so it's a balance we're trying to do. You know, like you said, you know, now.
And so kind of like you, it's like, yeah, here on our own. Yeah, and it might be less than usually for the first day,
oh, like transcribing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, and it's actually kind of really scary stuff because it's able to identify the officer.
Oh, who is speaking?
Yeah, and then the other person. It's all kinds of freaky stuff. Yeah, but it's fairly accurate. I mean, you still have to go to the system and make the officer go in and read the report. But you got this here, you get to a certain point, I think
You've heard about it.
it would have been, if that was taken in the panic, start. Oh, it was hard, you should still know.
I use that.
Well, yeah.
Audio meeting, and I have. I don't have to do that.
What's funny is, no.
Well, when was the message? And if it's on the agenda, like that. Community topic.
So, I will tell you, called me the other day, and I said,
Yeah, I mean, bars have that, when you cut up. The field stuff,
Reservation,
yeah, how accurate is it? So there's a couple of institutes who are starting to look into this. I don't know why it's the first generation anyway, because it's like bugs out. They don't charge in the car. They can, they have to, like I said, that's how we get our cable, and we got a cable like that that connects to, so that way if they jump out of the car, we can have it. Send it to their, USB, so yeah, they have. The camera live, right now, is providing us with that. If they put it on the charger, and then show. But they actually have 5G in the car right now, and they can, and we find that they are.
I'm going for like a month, 2 years, like how long?
Now, what it does is
because it's an extra stop.
cars, well, actually, the camera's down to the gun. We don't have to set up.
People that are open.
They can.
Because we know it's not just one stop.
I imagine it's not having data cap for long. You end up uploading today, right? Yeah, we have wireless. We have a wireless. They in the back parking lot. Cars come in and out.
Taking care of
Right. That's what they're doing there. There's
I gotta go.
right. You know, I work 50 hours a day.
5 minutes before. 10 minutes late to the reservation.
So, that doesn't mean we can't release videos.
Just after that. There is a time. Yeah, there is. That is. He likes that.
Right, it's not a complete restriction. You get access to it.
Usually they're like, unless there's been a bad news trip, and they're going home. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we try to keep them up. Yeah, well, it actually started over here at Peter. It is. We actually got one. Well, it's new.
yeah.
You got anything? Which side of across? Right, right. I did not know this, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, and your son previously had to be out, the boy couldn't be, we were like moving out in the middle.
That was our conversation. Yeah, exactly that, because only well, but the funny thing. I look around the corner of the house, I'm like, this is halfway across the house. Well, that's why it's not working. You don't have gas, you don't have gas. No. For heat pump, or right. Right. But it's not for the cheap statement. But those things.
Only the there's no game.
No, I do. And that's for me, I mean, that's a little bit. The line is to the door.
Probably went out there by the Pape.
I got there, and she had so many hugs, but she was sweating in the door, and she was frustrated, she was working, and she ended up with that's excellent. The work study after this is on the call.
Okay, unless you're just interested in buying what you're gonna do, very aggressive, or very free.
Yeah, I'm only saying because it's involved, that involves me. I won't be there in the morning. I'll be on my way.
We will talk about it at your staff meeting.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I'll be on the way to Manhattan. I will be there. La-di-da.
Aren't you?
I am dancing because, just so you know,
Not New York.
just so you know, I am getting a dinner tomorrow.
You're getting an award.
Renee and I'll be with me. Not really that award, but okay. Pretty sure I won't ever get that award.
In the morning, have fun in that.
Yeah. This is some leadership. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is gonna be, January's gonna be close to be January last year. But we were close to days. That makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about $6,000 to be close to days. We made a little bit of money from online registrations, but when we're closed, Sunday is a slow day, so probably not quite 6,000, probably more like 4,500. Monday, Tuesday, are busy. Visitation and, residence. It is cold in here. I am like literally in my coat and comfortable.
I'm usually not. I'm wearing that, but my hands are cold, like it's cold everywhere.
I have gloves. Just telling you. They're pretty, they're pink, or they have pink highlights. Of course, I don't know, your hand might be a little bigger than mine. They are tight fitting. Right? Close it, I tore down there. Fort Lauderdale, the day after, you take for a day. College Beach, old money there.
That's what Alan was saying, that Key West was cold. Remember down there?
Yeah. First day that, you know, snow.
Yeah, there's palm trees with snow on them.
They do, they get cold enough, it's like, they need to fall out of the trees.
Someone should be picking them up.
Really? Yeah, because we did the case, we were really cool. The river, the tavern, really cool. A lot of, it was cold, and because I was kind of acting like the industry on different cultures. I mean, they have the Amish and the farming Amish. And we have this big Amish. And like all the grocery stores there, and we used to run that. He's kind of saying different nationalities, a lot of Chinese that live in the city, a lot of Amish. Yeah, really interesting. He's a tour guide, was really informative. And so we had to go to, you know, typically everything like weird stuff. We gotta go here, gotta go, we had a chicken muffin for lunch after the tour, and we had to go to the gas station. Always was some local person.
Yeah.
And so we were driving to the gas station, and we looked over and then see box trucks. You know, the box trucks. And then we had a Merriam box truck in William City, okay? I'm like, holy shit, that's Merriam. And it looked like an old like enterprise box truck. And it wasn't like old or beat up or rusted. It was fairly good condition. And I'm like, wow. My daughter just family was in the news. I'm like, you got to take a picture of that. Nobody was going to get in the news about on that truck.
Yeah.
Yes.
Secondhand folders.
I guess, probably. For it to come from Merriam,
Yeah.
all the way down to William City.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that is so weird.
That is
weird. So, like, I like it.
Kind of like knowing your Uber driver.
Yeah, that was weird.
My husband was an Uber driver at the airport. No, had no clue. They made a reservation, he picked it up,
Yeah.
and they,
I was like, and I thought, oh, it's on here. I just pulled up, just out of the driver back in front of my go, yeah.
I'm sure you did tip.
Yeah, I didn't.
Not at all.
No, I told her, you guys should tip.
No stars.
I will, yeah.
yeah, no,
Me, sir.
ruined. I think it's gonna take more than one Uber trip to really agree to use so many of them.
It was dark, you know, I mean,
It was like, what, 4:45?
Yeah, it was.
You were his first ride that
Or,
morning.
yeah, well, I'm sure we were, we don't hear it. Sorry, or something, I'm like, no, way early. Okay, everybody, this is for the break, but I was like, well, yeah, it's the break, it's the thing, you know, the break.
Well, because they have, like, this morning he had a reservation at 4, he had to be online at 3:10.
Oh, yeah.
So they make you be
Available.
Now, you can book yourself on a break, but you have to be off, like, you have to be on the app.
Oh, wow.
If you have so many minutes before reservation. So, yeah, there are times he's like, their reservations are coming like 2, and he's like, yeah. I think 4 is about the earliest.
Yeah. And we still didn't have a lot of time.
right here, right at the start of the meeting, you know, a few minutes early, sometimes depending on the day. Oh, early to nine, bite your tongue. But if we're like 5 minutes late for everything, so you just kind of, you can say, hey, we can 5 minutes, I'm gonna walk up there, we're done. When we go to the airport, I want,
So we were,
it makes me anxious.
Oh, yeah.
we got through security,
Like that thing, because of security.
we got through terminal, and of course everything was going horribly wrong anyway. But here's how late we were. We didn't miss the flight, Michelle, like,
Were they calling you?
we actually had boarding of A. We were on A company, and that's 50 years ago, and that ring in the bay. When we got there, they were boarding B.
Oh, no.
I was literally fuming.
Oh, yeah, because you just,
I'm early everywhere I go. I am early everywhere I go. And my DNA just does not allow me to be late. And I was, steam's coming on my ears. I had a camper and snuck in the back of the line of B and got on the plane. And I was like,
Yeah. Are you late to the late? Or?
yeah, because I kept telling her, we're gonna go. We have 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
She says, oh, we can do it in an hour and a half. Well, she forgets that when we park in the parking,
Oh, yeah.
the shuttle service has to be shuttle bus.
that's why I don't park in the
Right,
parking.
so it's like, it's not like this, you know. So of
We
course,
park at the parking spot for that reason.
so it's like 15 minutes we waited for our shuttle to go. And then, you know, that early in the morning, they only had a handful of security points open, so there was still a line to get through.
Yeah, the anxiety of waiting for KCI buses is, I can't do it. Because especially like internationally, you're supposed to be there 2 hours in advance. So one of the times we were flying to Mexico, it snowed. And we drove in the snow. The kids were little. For the first time we were going to Mexico. And it was kind of, we weren't that late, but we were not on time either. We got out, we got to Denver, luckily, even though we're KCI, we would have to fly someplace else, to fly out. And so, after that, I said never again. So we go to the parking spot, make a reservation at the parking spot, they follow you, you know they're gonna be right there. I gotta know, when you pull in, they tell you where to go, and within minutes, a little bus is coming around the HM. It probably costs a little bit more than long-term at KCI, but my anxiety level is better with that. We do it through the app to get a discount, yeah. So when we go to Mexico in a few weeks, his mom and dad will come up and stay in our house, and then we'll all go together, because that trip we all met there. And his dad, the older he gets, is very traveler. We were sitting in the airport the last time we were in Mexico, and they all get up and go to, it was for, well, it was for us, it was the second one. It was for Lauren's graduation from principal. And, everybody gets up and leaves the grade. Like, they've all gone to the bathroom, whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm kind of playing and doing my own thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying. And I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Like, I would have never thought I would have bowled another 300. Wait, what is this? Are you talking about? He told them 300 since then, but that, you just, oh my God. So they all get back and I was just like, I never knew this was awesome on the in the airport. Crying about bowling. Like, I don't get it. He does. He just, like when it's time to be funny, he lost it on the phone because he did so, yeah. Oh, he lost it. Good job, Jason.
There you go.
Hi, you're back.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Okay, second. Or motion second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
And now we're going to a work session.
All in favor of a work session, please vote.
Oh, wait a minute, we get to vote if we're in favor of the work session?
It is not.
Colder upstairs?
No, it's pretty nice up there. Is it colder upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's pretty good.
First time I tried taping a battery to this thing, I had to make it more stable.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah. I didn't know how long downstairs would be, if this thing had run out of juice, so.
How long does the battery usually last, like, as the phone?
About 2 hours.
Oh, that's not
It's recording at 4K.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So,
very good.
it can get hot, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, to see if it's worth 2 hours.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's push button, it doesn't automatically, but you think, it automatically, okay? I'm gonna go back to. I'll share.
No.
Is there white Dr. Pepper in there?
No, because we don't have anybody that works in a street setting.
I drink it, no one just stocked it for me.
I work here at the.
I wasn't informed.
Oh, yeah, there's.
Appreciate everybody being in here for the work session. This is, listed as Upper Turkey Creek project update. You'll find out we don't have much of one, but I was asked in a council meeting to provide one, so we're going to provide you what we have. And then, really kind of just try to get your head wrapped around some concepts, some ideas, to convey to you some of the things that are rattling around in my head and have been for the last 2 years, and ultimately try to get you to start to think about what you're going to need to make a decision about the core project and or a creek project. So here's the status of the core project. So we're almost at 35% design. At 35% we get married. That's when we sign the project partnership agreement. We
lockdown is that we're gonna have until late summer, early fall to make a decision. Meaning they're gonna give us a window of time from when they give us what they give us and when we have to choose to move forward. A couple things that I can tell you that we have that aren't facts but are gonna change is that in 2022, they took the 2015 project, which is the basis for the current project. The current project is not the 2015 project. The current project is more than the 2015 project. But they elevated the 2015 project into 2022 dollars, and it came in at about $110 million. There are contingencies built in there. That's $71.5 million for the Fed share, which is 65%. They have 24. They need 47 more. We'll talk about that in a second. SMAC would pick up 75% of the 35%, which would be about $29 million. And the city would pick up $10 million. There are things that the county and the Corps will not pay for that we have to pay for. And so that number could change. That's just the number on the piece of paper when you go, what are the percentages? We have to pay for utility relocations. We're going to have to pay for a few other things that they don't pay for. So, but based on pure numbers, that's what that looks like. Not included in that budget of things that have changed are the cost of real estate, the cost of any sort of embargoes or tariffs. In the 2015 project, there was no bridge replacement, and we've been told that both bridges, Merriam Drive and Johnson Drive, will need to be replaced to accommodate this project. The cost of that is not included in this. Also not included in this is if you're going to elevate the Johnson Drive Bridge, you're going to move Merriam Drive to the east. You can't have buildings and roads in the same place. So I don't know what the project costs. They're not telling us what the project costs because they don't know what the project costs. Because they don't really have a project to be done in. But we could safely say that this probably, as of now, is a conservative estimate of what this project is going to cost. And so then let's talk about the Fed share. The plan up until November was that we being the Feds, were going to go and request the additional dollars needed for the Fed share as part of what they call the WRD budget. That's the water resources bill. It comes out every 2 years. Congress is not mandated to do it, but that is in the general practice, is that every 2 years there's a water resources bill. That is the funding source to pay for this project. That is where this project languished for many, many years, was in WRDA appropriations. The money we have is from Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill. Anyone that is paying attention will know that the current regime has made great efforts to dismantle that key piece of legislation. And that $24, let alone the 47.5 that we need, assuming this number is the right number, that $24 million may not be available because it's not sitting in someone else's bank. It's still sitting in Treasury. And there's an opinion at the Corps that they've essentially been told, don't come by the administration, don't come looking for money. We're looking for money because they have things they need to pay for. Tariffs, tax cuts, priorities that the current regime is looking for money for. So there may not even be the $24 million when this is all said and done. So that's just facts, right? That's just is what it is. If they don't do it 26, the next opportunity based on current practice would be 28. There is still the current regime in power in 28. So it's quite likely that 30 would be the next time the rest of this money would be available if they can't get it some other way. So that's just facts. What they have at 35% does not tell us whose building is going. We have some extent of the construction area, so we could say that there would be impacts on some property, but we don't know, are you taking the back 10 foot, are you gonna take 2 parking spots, or do we need the whole thing? The project is currently, literally as we speak, in what they call VE process. This is actually pretty impressive. This is one of the more impressive things. Federal government projects over a certain dollar have to go through a value engineering process, which is that they have to go get a third-party consulting firm that basically tears apart the whole project to value engineering. Unlike most value engineering that we are familiar with, which is to say we don't have enough money to do this project, let's go look at the finishes and say, why are we doing gold finishes when we can do silver finishes or whatever we want to say. They actually go in there and they're looking at value both ways. So value is benefit and cost. So they're in there and they're tearing through the whole project, or at least the 35% draft plans, to look for a variety of options of why are you using gold when you can use silver? Why are you using dirt when you can use I-beams? Why are you using I-beams when you could be using concrete? They're looking at road reliability. Sure, they are actually looking at that. They're looking at going into
the core is or the third party?
The third party is because the creek is a lot of shale. So there is one of the items that they're working on. We sat in a room with them last Monday. There's about 20 of them, and you can imagine anybody who puts 4 years worth of work into a project and then has 20 people that want to tear the heck out of it, you know, just kind of get a little defensive on some of those things and go, well, we've already looked at it. Well, they're like, well, we're going to look at it. And so they're not just looking to decrease costs, but they're also looking to say, hey, if you're putting in $20 million to take a C situation to a B, you know, you put in another 2 and take a C to an A. That's value, right? So they're looking at a variety of things. And because of that, we don't know exactly what the project looks like, because they have a list of about 25 things that they're going in there, some of which are more dramatic than other ones, of how does this make sense? Because when we're looking at a project that exceeds $100 million, there's a lot of changes you can make to save money. You can save $5 million, that's $5 million. So, all of that to say, we don't really have great detail to share with you on where we are with the core project. However, we will have a decision that needs to be made at the council level over the course of the summer. Starting in late spring until the end of summer, that's the window of opportunity that the council's going to have to internalize whatever information they need to internalize so that we can make a decision. That's what I want to address. That's what I want us to be thinking about and to start thinking about. So I'm going to throw a bunch of just random stuff at you that rattles around in my head because I don't have anything more on the core project really to give you. But
I know on paper, SMAC is committed to their share. How mad will they be their share is committed to
mad. And it's not just SMAC, it's going to be all your neighbors, all your elected officials in other cities that may not get SMAC funds for a decade. Absolutely. When SMAC committed ride or die with the city, this was not the cost of this project. Right? So, yeah, I mean, so they are interested in a efficient creek project also. Whether the core is the efficient creek project remains to be seen. However, they are thus far committed to the fact that they have said they would partner with us, so the decision will be yours. They will not, at least thus far, I don't know where the threshold of pain is on these numbers, but they will not step in and say, hey, no, because they committed to do this project.
What is SMAC's budget per year?
They have all different kinds of portions of money, but like what's equivalent would be what, 25 million I think per year that they, and cities have to apply for it.
So, I mean, we would eat up a little over a year's worth.
I would suspect that if we're to get this much money from SMAC, we're going to probably either cash finance or borrow, and they're going to give us $5 million, $7 million. They're not going to give us.
We
they're not gonna empty the coffers out for us.
But I mean, relative to what their annual funding is.
We might.
Well, we might be done with SMAC money for a while.
Yeah, my guess is when we do the creek project, we probably will not get SMAC funding
For a decade.
at least, yeah, would be my guess.
We can't just clean out all of Johnson County, that's
Yeah.
not being a
No,
partner
sure.
for a city.
Yeah, and those are great things to hear, those are things that you're going to get tasked with making a decision on, when we have good information to make a decision.
And all of that, we just say, oh, we decided to want to say, oh.
But also, the other cities have all their upstream projects done. So, when I think about it that way too.
Although I will say, they have all these pots of money, and right now all the money is going, all the cities are planning for replacement of corrugated metal pipe. Flood control projects have gone down. They have all these ones that people have applied for, they're not seeing all this interest, because they've got a lot of that. So, it could, it just depends on the city's money and interest.
If all of the real estate in this area were magically up for sale, what would it total up to?
We're gonna get to those are the type of questions I'm gonna ask.
$100 million is.
You can buy it a lot.
So, I'm gonna throw at you just a bunch of random things here, so let's back up, because I think in order to get what we need, which ultimately what your staff needs to know is, what do you need to know to make a decision? Whether that's relative to the core project or something else. So I'm gonna try to kind of guide us through that as best I can. Not looking for any answers, but just at some point, I'll need the answers to that. If you have them, that's great. We will write them down. So I think let's back up and say, okay, so really what are we dealing with here? We have a creek situation in this community. The creek situation is that we have a creek that runs right in the middle of our community, and it impacts downtown. When it doesn't flood, it impacts downtown. It runs in the middle of our city. That creek left its banks in downtown in 51, 58, 61, 68, 77, 83, 86, 93, 95, 96, 98. Over the course of 50 years, on average, twice a decade, that creek left its banks downtown. The last decade of that 50-year period, it left it 4 times in 6 years. At the end of that 6 years, that is when we went to the Corps and said enough is enough, we need help. Because it had flooded 4 times in 6 years. At that time, when we went to them, what we asked the Corps was, hey, we need to protect our existing businesses because our existing businesses cannot operate down there. So that is what the Corps project and the Corps mission is. It is to protect existing businesses. Actually, it's to protect existing businesses from 1998. But that is the mission of the Corps project, to protect existing businesses. Facts. Adjacent properties to that creek are in the floodplain, and they have to pay flood insurance. There's a premium operating the business down along the creek. That flood risk prevents reinvestment in those properties and in communities. We've turned away numerous businesses that have said, hey, we want to go downtown, and we want to do this, and we want to do that. And at some point, there is a tipping point on the investment you can put in those properties to where you have to get out of floodplain. It's just not feasible. People go down and say, hey, I'll go down and hang out in Shawnee and open up a brewery because they can't operate market. All that's correct so far, right? So that's our creek situation. We've got negative impacts that the creek poses to our businesses that are affected, and a couple residents that are along. Also in 98 started, if you look at that, you look at when these floods started, that all coincides with the build out of Johnson County. Impervious surface increased, lots more water in the creeks. In 98, as a result of all of this, we started doing things a little bit differently as a county. We started less impervious surface, we started doing retention, detention for development, where we had straightaways, we put riprap, where we had riprap, we started to make some changes in the creek profile and how much water we sent to the creek from a development standpoint. Also, fact that's not on there, the creek has not left its bank in over 26 years downtown Merriam. Just facts. What that means, hell, I don't know. But it hasn't left it for the longest period of time in the last 75 years. We've asked residents on numerous occasions, prior to the creek showing, prior to the core showing back up, what we should be doing downtown. How should we be setting our priorities? 2019, in prep for our comp plan, which is the land use plan, we asked our residents to stretch their minds and think about how we should be planning for the future and the development of our community. We asked 3 actions you think would help improve the overall quality of life. Not money question, improve the quality of life. Kind of a heady question. The number 1 action, provide downtown the opportunity to attract a wider variety of businesses and customers. 70%. I mean, it's 10% more than the next one, which is add some infrastructure that's a hell of a lot easier. 10%. 70 over the next one. 70% of folks, as part of our comp plan, said that we should provide downtown the opportunity to attract a wide variety of businesses and customers. We got a little bit specific on the next 2 questions. We asked level of agreement with the following statements. Develop a plan that directs future growth and development in appropriate areas. We didn't say downtown, but downtown is an appropriate area. Almost 80% strongly agreed or agreed. We did get specific on the 3 questions circled after that. Attract new retail development to downtown at 77%. 77% we need something new downtown. Use local tax resources to protect downtown from flooding. 74%. That's over 2/3. That's 3/4. If we trust statistics, that we should protect downtown from flooding. And then the next question, improve appearances of downtown Merriam Drive, 71%, still over 2/3. So that looks to me like if we look at provide downtown the opportunity, how do we provide the opportunity? I think if we assume that we have some educated residents, we have to do something to address downtown flooding, and then we need to attract new retail development so we can improve the
I wonder what the answer would be if it was spent $100 billion.
Sure, absolutely. If we would have known, we would have.
Because none of this has a price tag.
It does not have a price tag.
Well,
So
then
then,
$9.6 million.
$110 million of taxpayer.
We still pay for it.
it's all of our money. We might only have the responsibility for the 10 of it, but because we're the triggermen on it, we're the triggermen on all of it. If it's 110, if it's 90.
Understand that it needs to have an economic payback.
So
I disagree with that.
coming out of this project, coming out of the comp plan, we were going into our every 3-year citizen satisfaction survey. So we looked at this information and we said we probably need a little bit more information. Again, this is before the core show back up. This is when, if you recall, it was the wrong council. We were starting to put slides in the budget presentation with all the money that we were going to spend downtown on 5701 and the studies and the master plans. And we had hired BHC to do figure out where we could bench and other variety of things we could do that we could start to redevelop downtown. But we wanted to ask some additional questions. So we did in 21. Agreement with the following statements regarding community issues. Merriam should focus on revitalization and redevelopment of downtown corridor between Johnson Drive and 55th. Revitalization and redevelopment. That's not saving what's down there. That's revitalization and redevelopment. And you got 68%, 2/3 of people strongly agreed and agreed that that's exactly what we should be doing. We asked about priorities. The priority, highest priority is clearly the grocery store. We're working on it, I promise you. Number 2, 42% of number 2 highest priority is revitalizing downtown. If you take first, second, third priority, that's 95% of folks say that's what we need to be doing. We need to be revitalizing downtown. So then we came back and we asked, we weren't sure if people understood exactly what that meant. So in 23, we sent out the 24 survey, and we were a little bit more pointed. Merriam should move in the direction of a future downtown that is considerably different than present downtown. Considerably different. Not the same. Considerably, not revitalized. Considerably different. 82% of residents said absolutely. It's the number 1 priority for strongly agree. It's the number 2 priority for agree. Over public art, over urban craft, over single hauler, over multi-million-dollar investment into a grocery store. It's the number one thing 3 years later. I'll even go as far as to say, if you look at what it was in 21, you had 26% were neutral, and 6% said no. That's important when you look at no. How many people are against those other things versus downtown? You got 26% of people that said, hey, you shouldn't get multi-million-dollar for a grocery store, even though it's the number one priority. It's a polarizing issue, right? You've got as many people that strongly agree with that as saying you shouldn't do it. That's not the case with revitalizing downtown. But it's 26% neutral and 6% are against it. 3 years later, 14% neutral, 4% are against it. The older that shit gets, the less people want to see it. Plain and simple. Take that for what it is. It's a survey. If you trust statistics, that's what it says. What's the priority? Revitalizing downtown, 65% say that we should be doing first, second, or third priority. Incentivize the grocery store. I promise you we're working on it. Single hauler, you know we're working on it. We're still burning stuff. And public art program, fully funded. This is on the list of stuff that needs to happen. What does it mean? I don't know. These are the people that vote for you. You have to decide what that means. So the question I have is, if you're going to spend millions of dollars on a creek project, not a core project, could be a core project, but on a creek project, what you need to ask yourself is, what are your preferred outcomes? What are the things that you want from a successful creek project? I don't know what those things are. Are they protecting existing businesses? Are they protecting future businesses that aren't there? Are they getting some people who don't pay flood insurance? What are the things that are preferred income? Our outcomes. What should downtown look like at the conclusion of that successful project? When we show up at a ribbon cutting and somebody says, hey, $110 million project, what am I looking at? And we say, when you see that building over there that hasn't been painted in 50 years and needs the roof replaced, on the backside of it there's a 12-foot wall. That's what you want. Is that what we want? Are our residents, is that what they want? I don't know. Surveys say maybe they don't. What should that downtown look like 5 to 10 years after success? Even if it's a core project. 5 to 10 years after we go through multi-year process, making a lot of people mad with a core project or some other alternative project, what should downtown look like 5 to 10 years after that? Should it look like it's looked for the last 50, 60 years? I don't know. That's up to you. That's up to your constituents. What do you think they want? No, these are real questions. They're up to you. You have to decide the answers to these questions. Because if you go with a core project, there might be pieces of development of future downtown that you're not going to get, or you're certainly not going to get anytime soon.
Are these things you want right now?
These are just the things. I'm not planning to walk out here thinking. You just need to be thinking about them, and you can communicate them with me when you have them, because what we need to know is, what do you need to make your decision? What do you need to know from the core, sir?
So I guess my question is about the core. Is their goal of their project and their 35% of the way towards designing is to remove all of the houses or commercial buildings downtown from the floodplain? Or
so the core project is as contemplated in 2015. We're in the middle of perhaps a change. I'll address it. Was to not eliminate. So the floodplain FEMA flood maps. That's this agency. And those are governed by NOAA and FEMA and Brian Fanshaw, if you want more specific detail. The Corps is independent of all that. The Corps does projects to address flooding. So the Corps project, as currently contemplated, is to get a certainty of 83% that all of the properties affected currently in the 1%, the 100-year floodway, there is an 83%, 82.9% certainty they will not be inundated in the 100-year flood. Did I say that right? Okay, cool. So that's what I lovingly referred to as slide ruler stuff before you came on council, because that's all statistics stuff that it hasn't flooded in 25 years. We're going to spend how much money, and I'm still paying flood insurance because I'm still in the floodplain. But you're going to tell me statistically I can sleep better at night, but I'm still paying. Right.
mean, I think I've told you before that I'm not comfortable even spending the $10 million of Merriam resident county if it doesn't fix the floodplain issue.
Correct.
It doesn't open up avenues to do business.
Right.
And alleviate flood insurance, because that to me is an all-star.
And we have conveyed that to the Corps, and so this is a very recent development, very recent. What the Corps has done thus far is say, hey, here is the project that is authorized by Congress. And so we'll imagine it's like my wall. We're going to start at Long John Silver's down on Shawnee Mission Parkway, and we're going to come all the way up to the East bus line. We've got a 10-foot wall, and an 8-foot wall, and an 11-foot wall, and a 13-foot wall, and a 10-foot wall, and a 9-foot wall. That, based on our flood modeling, is going to reach the 83% certainty to get it out of the floodplain. We have said, we ain't doing that unless we're getting people out. There's no way we can go on the other side of that traffic building, that wall, which will get 110, you're still paying flood insurance. So they call that a betterment. So what they have designed on top of that is how much extra wall needs to be put on top of that wall to get us to FEMA certification. So we're going to pay 65% of that lower piece of wall, and we're going to pay 100% of the upper piece of wall. It's called a betterment. Are you tracking with me so far? Okay. So that's going to add up real quick, right? Because we're adding a bunch of wall on top of existing. Brian has done a good job. FEMA wasn't even a part of this process until we brought FEMA into the process. Brian reached out to FEMA and said, you need to be a part of this process because we need to know exactly what you guys require. Because the Corps is building FEMA standards. They're building Corps standards, which is different than FEMA standards. So, that's kind of been known for about a year and a half, 2 years now, that that's our expectation. That's how they've been designing. What the Corps came to us a month ago, maybe less than a month ago, and told us is that there is some sort of proof, process, something.
Standard operating,
yeah,
standard practice.
That if the Corps says that this gets you out of the floodplain, FEMA generally will go, okay, that's cool, you're out of the floodplain. Without the betterment.
So just real quick, what that is Speed Corps says that they can demonstrate this 85% likelihood, then it has been typically the practice of FEMA that they will accept that as a certification.
And that difference is a 0.04 of a foot. It's 2 more inches on the wall that they're already designing.
Right. So that's a huge positive for the Corps. That is a huge positive for the Corps project. So
for us financially.
Well, and to be clear, $110 million includes no betterment. $110 million is just what they projected the Corps will.
I'm just saying, right, that's for us financially.
Well, it keeps us at 110 or whatever.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it 175.
Right, it's the 2 bridge replacements and moving the road money.
Oh my God, can we just say that's good news?
Right.
So that's where, that is the direction the Corps is heading at this time.
So the hope is that at least is one thing that we can check off of the Corps project that would be beneficial. Well, there's many things that are beneficial, but that's one that wasn't going to be there before, that we were going to have to pay the extra betterment for, that we may not have to pay. Or if we have to, we're paying for 2 inches of levee instead of literally 3 foot of levee.
So how far out of the floodplain do we need to be to attract a major development? To get somebody...
Well, we just need to be out of the floodplain. So if we're at 85% and we get the maps get redrawn, and the floodplain now is in the creek, all of the flood is in the channel of the creek. It's all developed. It's all ready to do whatever we we or anybody else wants to do with it.
So I also want to frame this as a public safety issue. I know we're talking a lot about the economy and that kind of stuff too, but, and I think a lot of the work has been done upstream by other cities and other projects that means that this creek hasn't come over its bank since '98. So it's probably a lot safer than it was, especially considering there are trees growing out of it now in our floodplain.
And downstream is probably the most impactful. We are upper Turkey Creek, there is a lower Turkey Creek project. That's about a $190 million project that's down Southwest Trafficway. And that, from all of the people that have been around to see it, that actually just finished not that long ago. It's been phased, but it just got completed. The furthest north extent of it just got completed. Like that's the one where there's a tunnel that goes, Southwest Traffic goes under, it goes up, and they found cars in it and all sorts of stuff. If you have people, it goes further, And so I have always been told from the people that have seen it flood is that it backs up. It's not water coming so much down, although that's where the water comes from. It's that it can't get out. And so whether that has fixed a lot of this, I certainly don't know. I know this is the longest it hasn't flooded since the city started settling, so take that for what it is. But so the issue that we need to know is you're going to get presented the project by us or somebody in late March that let's assume it takes all the properties out of the floodplain. Let's assume it's $110 million. Although, again, if you're replacing bridges and things like that, I don't know how to say it's 110, but let's just for the sake of argument, it's 110. And is that good enough? I mean, are we, hey, cool, we're ride or die on that? Like, that's fine. The Corps here, we're going to trust the Corps. Or do you need other information? Again, whether that's from the Corps, like, hey, I need to know a cost, not like a range of it's 110 to 200. I need to know it's 113 million. Do we need to know absolutely that we're getting out of the floodplain? Is that a deal breaker if it doesn't? You know, like, we need so we can start to prepare, because if they have extra work to do that's not part of their 35% process, we need to tell them, hey, I'm sorry, this might be part of the 47% plans, but you don't have any project if you don't get this. So
why would we do this project if it doesn't get us out of the floodplain, first of all?
Good question.
And second, like, you would be disrupting, because bridges being replaced, two significant arteries in the city. My fear would be that we would start this project, and then, let's say, perhaps the administration decides to do something with funding for infrastructure projects, and our funds go away, and we're stuck with a one-third finished project and no bridges.
We could more likely, what would happen is we would have a fully designed project, and maybe the utilities are moved and we pay to move, and the project doesn't go anywhere for 10 years.
Okay.
That would be more likely. I don't think that we would run the risk. What we're shooting for, I keep saying is to issue one contract. To issue one contract for the whole project means we have one.
Okay.
Not to do it, because you could do this one and then this one and chase money, because generally they always give you the money once you start. Well, generally there's a lot of generalities that don't apply anymore, right? So yeah, we would likely say we want one contract. That's the only way we're doing it, because then we know the money.
And the RFP and the bid, like, that all goes through the court.
Court does all of that, but we signed an agreement. We certainly have some stipulations to do.
Looking farther down the road, is it irresponsible for us to do a project where we approach developers or developers approach us And the Corps told us that it's only 85% out of the floodplain within, you say, FEMA. He said, well, okay, I guess that gets you out of the floodplain.
So it's not 85%, meaning like you have surface area that's 100% and 85 is out of it. It is the level of certainty from a statistical probability that it will flood.
Right.
I mean, so you would have to build, like, you know, you're never going to get to, I mean, I guess you could get to 100, but I mean, building to 100 is not required. You know, FEMA from a core project is apparently okay with 85%. So they will say, okay, if you build 85%, we'll look at it and we will likely certify it and say, yeah, this isn't a floodplain. I am not an engineer, but seeing that it hasn't left its banks in 25 years, do we really need 10-foot walls on both sides of the creek to make sure it doesn't, like, have we just not had that much rain in 25 years that we would get that much rain that we need 10-foot walls on top of already where we're at?
How do we get it certified that the maps are right and all of that's been fixed?
Well, so the current flood maps are from 2009. I'm not sure exactly when the study is. I want to say Johnson County is in the process of developing a flood map.
And new rain data, yes.
They're working, this is involved with the whole course.
Yeah.
So it's.
Okay, so it is.
Okay.
We have the county plugged into our process.
Okay, so
And we're running old maps and new maps, so
Okay.
we're running them side by side.
So we're not going to see necessarily a new 1% floodplain if this doesn't go through before we can think about it.
We have draft new maps,
Okay.
and they're not that.
They're not.
I mean, it removes some stuff down south, but it also puts some stuff in.
Okay.
So it's not, it's certainly not what I thought it was when it was like, hey, man, I've been flooded 25 years, I'm not sure any of this is like.
Surprises to me. That's really surprising to me.
Which,
Is not township.
I was also another question, unrelated, really. Is the,
Well, good for them. Yeah.
originally, my understanding was the Corps was limited on what they could spend money on, and it was to protect existing businesses.
Sure.
Has that mandate or limit changed, or could it change?
It has not changed. They are playing within the margins of that mandate. That's a mandate from Congress. It doesn't just come down, hey, here's your money.
Yeah.
They have authorization to accomplish a mission. The mission is to, it's like, I mean, it's spelled out, it's 82.9% certainty to protect existing business. You know, I mean, it's spelled out. What is built into there is there's wiggle room, if you will.
I'm just saying, if we want to play common ball and go off the rails, do we lose access to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Corps is not going to go, hey, you can have our money, what do you want?
I know, but I mean, there's no law we can do with the other $40 million or whatever pot was between us and the town.
They are not, we have pressed them on them, we've asked them to go back and look at options that were explored prior to 15, because there were essentially, we looked at several things from 02, when I think the project started, until it was approved in 15. We looked at dredging going down, we looked at widening, we looked at going down and widening, and we looked at buyouts. And so because of the proximity to the flooding, buyouts were almost immediately taken off the table. And because of that, that was the mission, was to protect existing businesses, right? It's not an inconvenience when it's flooded 4 times in 6 years. I can't conduct business now. So, you know, that issue was we have to protect existing businesses. So that is part of the mandate. They get itchy when we buy those properties downtown, because what it does is when you take those properties out, it messes with a very slim benefit cost ratio. So there's a BC ratio, and because it is so low, that is part of why it never got funded, and we assumed it never would get funded because it was so low, because the BC ratio was like a 1.2 compared to like New Orleans or North Carolina, or any of the other places that are after that same word of money. And so it's like, no, this is never going to qualify. Part of what's put in that BC ratio is the value of the properties that you're saving, the value of the businesses. So when you take those out, even if it's because you need them for the project, which is why we have reserved buying properties downtown that we need for the project. I mean, all those projects, all those properties that are on the creek bank, we need some and or all of them. So that doesn't bother them that much because that's going to be taken out of the BC ratio. Does that make sense?
No, I think we talked about it previously, and I thought it would come up in the news that.
Yeah, they are very conscious of that BC ratio because that's part of what they have. So they have to do what's called a pact, which is to go back and kind of justify this additional money. And that's a whole process, it's a whole report, it's a lot of just engineering. And part of that is the BC ratio. That's an updated BC ratio that says, hey, we don't have enough money. We have a project, we're this far on it, we need some more money. And that packer is part of how they justify any changes that are in there, but it still has to be within the mandate. So there are things, so like the bridges. Bridges weren't really part of the 2015 plan. Those bridges have to be included in that packer because that's a change, changing of the street, changing of the profile of the street. Those are all changes, so those have to be vetted through that process. I don't know where the wiggle room is, but there's a little bit of wiggle room, and I think we've got them slammed up against the wall of wiggle room.
So I think it probably would be really important to hit that threshold where we are able to look at the floodplain and the properties around it. Because like, if we don't do that, sure, it will make people's risk, much lower. We've got a 1.2% chance of being flooded instead of 1% chance. So what people actually think about it is if they're all of a sudden paying less for their flood insurance. And that happens, that's just like a switch. Right. And so that's one way. Like if we can't do that, then people will think, well, you're just paying all this money, and I'm having to pay the same amount every month.
Yeah, we've shared with them. I've been pretty vocal with them about all of these points I've made with you for the last 3 years. Why would we and our county partners spend $50 million at the local level? What's it cost, one, to buy all of it? What's it cost just to pay everybody's flood insurance for the next 50 years? Right? I mean,
Cost us money to do that, like what Juliana said. Yeah.
Is anybody else concerned about losing access to the creek as an amenity? Yeah, I don't like the idea of at 10, 12 foot flood walls, the entire length.
the only thing we can do about that is where we move the trails up on top. But you can only do that on the berms, where they put walls in, they're coming back down on the inside.
Yeah, I'm just saying, that's gotta be part of the type of consideration.
And we've done that. Brian, that's been Brian's mantra. Mine has been flood insurance, and why does this make sense? His has been creek as an amenity. We have pounded that. And they understand it, but I mean, creek as an amenity, when you're trying to contain creek, I mean, there's only so many ways to do that.
I want to go back to Bruce's comment earlier. Do we have the economic data about downtown?
I don't have updates, but I mean, I gave you guys about 3 years ago or something.
Sure, we put something in a press release about it, in like that 500K was released, I think. So if you were to do the Google for the chat,
yeah, I mean, so what we are already doing is we have somebody that is doing a study to explain what it is.
Oh, we have, we're being raised through mitigation, we need to look at, some alternative ideas for doing subdivision. Just simply, because as Chris has explained, the Corps is really confined within that 2015 study. They have to stay within that. We really can't get out of that. So we engage HCTV to just start doing some very high level analysis of some other options for downtown.
How much dirt do you got to bring in one of the trucks?
Yeah.
So we are engaged in, they're working on it, probably will be working on it very soon. So that's, just because we felt it would be better to have some options, maybe some options, that we got a kind of a proof of concept to make sure idea actually works, instead of just, the binary choice of the core project.
Are they looking from Shawnee Mission Drive to the bridge or Johnson Drive?
So, right. So that's probably one of the major differences between the course project that they have to do, because that's what they did, that's based on 2015, is, the core project really looks from Shawnee Mission Parkway all the way to Waterfall Park. This will specifically look at, downtown.
Yeah, we asked for, could we get hybrid type deals where we say, okay, wall south of Johnson, is there a way that we can, downtown, we can still interact with Creek? And north and south, put up cars. I mean, that's industrial anyway. Can we keep downtown? And it doesn't work. Which makes sense. I mean, you can't have a 2-foot wall here, 10-foot wall here, expect the water not to wall. So, we have tried to press that. Part of why we have HMTB doing this is that I assume that you're not going to want to punt on a creek project unless you know there is a viable other option or other options. We have had high-level conversations with our partners in the county and said, hey, if we funded on the core project because of cost or because of efficiency or whatever it is, are you guys still on board? And they are still on board. We are grandfathered into a 75-25 split. Current SMAC is not that. Current SMAC is 50-50. Yeah, so, we might be able to negotiate and leverage some of that. I don't know. But, yeah, we have been offline. I mean, well, we've been honest about it before, but we've had offline conversations with our county partners to say, hey, this thing blows up and goes crazy. We still might want a creek project, or you guys still on board to do a creek project. And they are very receptive to that. I'm sure the driver of that's going to be, hey, is it going to cost them $40 million? Is it going to cost them $20 million? Or 20 or 12%? So, I guess if you were handed the core information, and again, it's 35%, you're not going to have all the information that you want. You're going to find out really quick. You just don't get the information from the core. And they expect you to get married very early. So, what information specifically do you think you'll want? That's what we're going to need to know.
Well, I'm sure I won't get this thing. If this thing all goes great, and it's all up for development, and we have this beautiful mixed-use thing, and we've got 1,200 apartments and restaurants and breweries and everything else, what's the economic impact?
Well,
that's not going to be part of the process.
I know, but that's really what it's going to take before I'll be satisfied with moving forward with the project.
That's going to be the risk you have to take.
I know, I get that.
I mean, that's like.
Yeah, but the alternative is you're not going to get any of it if we don't.
If we don't do anything, but if we were to do that, is the economic impact of a big project, is it going to take $110 million?
It's going to take a long time to do that, but it might cover our 10.
Well, is it all going to happen in?
Oh, it's going to take 50 years.
Well, no, I also think you have to look at it as an investment in the community.
Exactly, an investment.
Yeah. An investment in the community as a whole.
A payback.
An investment in the community.
I agree. There might be some of the payback. Some of the payback is quality of life.
Exactly.
Some of the payback is quality of life. Now that doesn't mean that's the only payback we will get. And I don't know how to quantify that versus sales tax or property tax that we would have. But yeah, it'll be difficult to get that with any sort of certainty that anybody could be held, they'll be willing to be held accountable for.
Look at it in the property value, look at it in home sales, look at it in terms
Well,
of,
you know, we certainly could probably look
families.
and say, hey, this is what commercial rates, I mean, we probably have just
Well, what's the
something high level.
organization doing for it?
Right, to do some sort of high level, but that's gonna be very broad use, and hey, we brought in restaurants and retail, this is what the square footage generated, I mean, something like that.
Think about it in terms of what other businesses bring to our retailers across the street, like the impact that they're creating. The health of our community, who is walking there, there's a measurable piece of it that is much easier to understand, and then I think there's what I would call the social impact of it, that just makes it a more desirable place, makes Merriam a more desirable place to be.
That was my point earlier when I said that I disagree that it has to pay for itself back. And I don't know if that's what we meant by the economic return. Like, I think that I look at it a lot in the way that we're undergrounding utilities. There's not a direct economic benefit tomorrow that says that $4 million we're spending to pay itself back by increased property values, increased property taxes in any measurable term. But it has an unquantifiable quality of life over the lifespan of living underground from a safety, communication, etc. standpoint that has to be weighed as part of the dollars and cents return as well. And I think that's kind of a holistic look that I think, not want to speak for it, for me, $110 million to reduce the risk of flooding is a non-starter. And so, not just because we want to pay ourselves back, but it doesn't provide us the opportunity to do the things that our residents want done downtown. Those properties are still technically in the floodplain because we haven't gotten them out and they lose the creative amenity. I mean, even if we got them out of the floodplain or built those flood walls, are we ever going to get the development that our residents want and I think we want to see from our downtown? And the answer is no.
There's also socioeconomic impact to it as well, like even the houses along that floodplain, they're never going to be as nice as the ones that are
50 years from now, we spend this money, 50 years from now, we shouldn't recognize it. I mean, there shouldn't be a used car lot there. There should be a multi-level parking. There shouldn't be, whatever's there, it needs to be replaced by massive development.
And then the question is, love our car dealerships.
The question is, do the people of Merriam really want the massive development that will be required to support spending all of it?
They want considerable change, that's.
Emphasis on considerable.
And none of us know what that looks like. I don't even know what the frickin' design looks like. That's what makes me nervous. I don't even know, we're actually trying to answer questions, and I don't even have the visual, design in front of me to answer any questions.
All you're gonna get from visual design is a picture that looks like you're standing downtown from a Google map that has a gray wall line. That's what you're gonna get. Because that's what it is. I mean, that's all, it's not art, it's literally, you're gonna have a grass mound back behind the marketplace. We're looking at the marketplace, now you can kind of see the bridge, and you can kind of see maybe the trails over on the other side. You're gonna see a 10-foot green wall.
Look what's being built along the Kansas River.
It's not anything architectural to look at, it's literally berms and walls.
But it's gonna, at least if I can see a document, that would make me feel better than talking about it conceptually. Yeah, no, not at all. Some sort of deliverable. I feel like I haven't seen a product. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we certainly can show you schematically what walls and berms look like. Now,
I know what walls and berms look like. Yeah. I'm saying from this process, I feel like I have not seen a product of the court's effort. Does that make sense? You haven't. Exactly.
And what you're going to see is you're going to see the cross section.
Yeah.
They don't do pretty pictures. You're going to get a cross
Well, they'll show or whatever, right? And then.
Yeah, they'll show you generally where they're going to be.
Yeah, we'll be able to see how far.
I understand how all of this works. I've looked at these things before I've been on council since 2020, you guys, like, you don't have to talk to me like I'm an idiot, you know?
I'm not gonna see, but I'll be.
You're not gonna get a rendering like.
I have a concept plan.
You know, like, in 10 years, if I go on a walk down a trail, you know, I'm gonna be right next to the flood wall right here.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's gonna.
Yeah, you'll know if you're at the marketplace, that's a berm, and you'll know if you're standing behind whatever business, that's a wall.
Yeah.
I wanna see how high the berm is. I wanna see how high the wall is. I wanna see what this looks like in practice, so I can visualize the change, the footprint of what my money is getting me. You know, I think that's important to make this decision. And it doesn't have to be a random, you know, lettuce filler like the sketches for the complex. I think that's an important step in answering technical questions or questions like these. It's difficult for me to have.
Do you want that for the full extent of the creek project, like every single view that you could have, or do you just want a rendering if I'm standing at the marketplace, this is what I'm looking at?
She wants a floor plan or a site plan that shows 10-foot berm, 9-foot.
Yeah, you don't have to compartmentalize this whole thing.
We already have that.
We have that.
It's probably changed a little bit, but I mean.
Like inches of cross sections and like.
So you just want like a flyover that says, this is a wall, this is a berm, the yellow is a berm, like we already have.
Yeah, like here's how tall it is on this side, here's how tall it is on this side. It doesn't even have to be animated. Like it doesn't even need to be anything like that.
We'll have that.
Oh, is that roughly the same as the 2015 feasibility plan?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah.
But they'll be all being about the same way.
Jacob said the references to non-water, I think, for major references, kind of reason sure we can actually build whatever we want down there. Exactly.
That's the only question that matters.
That, you know, if we can't do that, then we shouldn't even do that.
Yeah, they know that's our third rail. If we can't get this out of the floodplain, you're not gonna vote.
It didn't attract the developer.
And what a waste of everyone else's time as well.
Yeah, we've been very clear.
I mean, they also have their margin.
The issue is going to be, well, if again, this new development is that at 85% we can get certification, that's great. The other issue is that if that doesn't work and we've got to pay for 100% of the 3-foot levy, that number is nowhere close to that 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So then you're going to get up to, where's your gag reflex here?
$150 million with berms and walls, and we're just
If the city goes about doing this ourselves, can we get certified out of the floodplain? Or
We wouldn't do it otherwise, I don't think.
But so, as an entity, without assistance from the Corps, we can get certification.
With enough money, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or we get part.
Well, yeah, if we wanted to, we could do our own core project for the full creek. What we're looking at with HNTV is just downtown. We're just saying, hey, it hasn't flooded in 25 years. Downtown is the developable area that, from what we believe the residents want, is the area that we need to know what is option B. If we go, hey, the Corps wants $200 million and we're going to pay $60 million, but for $20 million, we can buy everybody and bring in 4 foot of dirt, and then it's just a green field, fully developable. I think council probably wants to know that.
When is HNT delivering their plans?
They know our timeline.
When is HNTV delivering their plans?
that's correct. They know the timeline.
They know.
May.
Yeah.
Again,
It's right at the beginning of our conversation.
There will have nowhere near the level of detail the core.
They are conceptual. You can do it, and it would cost you $50 million.
I think that's the question we've all beaten around, is like, are we gonna spend $110 million to save $20 million worth of it?
I think that's out.
I mean, I don't.
That's policy. And do you, are you willing to save downtown and not the rest? Are you willing to leave $70 million of federal funds on the sideline if it all costs the same, but their project can take 20 years and we can do it for free?
Well, I am a little shocked that we spent all this time doing a Merriam driver design and went through a whole bunch of, agreed to like make sure that it was right.
But I'm sure we're all shocked, but at the same time, I wouldn't have felt comfortable potentially leaving 85% of the project on
Girl,
the
I
table.
know, like, I understand, but, something has to happen here, right? So.
I don't think any of us, I would agree, I don't wanna just walk away.
I don't wanna walk away and do nothing.
I mean, at the end of the day, I would assume.
Well, I think your residents will let you walk.
Yeah.
I think your residents have an expectation you're gonna do something.
Yeah.
The question is, what's the right option? And what are the decision points that we have to make to pivot one direction or the other, and what information do you need so you feel justified in doing that? Because, you're gonna have some people that you spend $110 million and go, why the hell you spend $110 million? And you get out of the floodplain. You're gonna have some people that are gonna go, when you say, we're not gonna do that project, we're gonna do another. You have $70 million, you will not win 100% of approval from anyone, and it's likely that the 4 or 6% will be the ones that are here, that are hollering at you about whatever it is. So you're gonna have to be resolute to do whatever you, because whatever option you choose, whether it's a core option or some alternate option, you're taking people out of their business. You're taking people, and you might have to take it, like eminent domain, take it. That we will be required to acquire the property, and we will be given a timeline to do it. So if we have to take it, you will take it from them, which means we will go to court and say, I'm sorry you've been here for however many years, but we need this for the good of the community. That's not going to be, you're not going to go home feeling great then. Well, you're going to have to do that, because you're going to have some people that ain't going to want to go. And that's going to happen on either, whatever option you choose. Right? So you got to get your head wrapped around what information, whether that's a survey where you can go, hey, I'm sorry, I appreciate you've been a business owner for 40 years, but 82% of people that live in this community, not just work in this community, they don't want you here. We can move you north or south. We can create grants that say, hey, if you're displaced from downtown, we'll try to find you somewhere else to go. Like, we can do all of those things to try to make, we could pass a policy that says, because we don't want to do eminent domain, we'll do an appraisal and we'll pay up to 40% over appraisal just to make you go away happy. You can do whatever you want. It ain't cheap. But you have to get your head wrapped around, no matter what we do, somebody's hollering at you.
I need to know the value of the property in the floodplain, north of Johnson Drive and south of Johnson Drive.
Okay.
Because south of Johnson Drive is captured by the core. And if we walk away from the core project, I'm going to walk away from
When you say that, you mean like what's the property worth? Like the price? Okay.
I mean, roughly, that order of magnitude, I guess. Because it's not asking for a appraisal, but it's the property.
I mean, we pull county appraisals. We don't get real appraisals, that's the only thing we do.
Yeah, no, something to know, like, if we're gonna spend X amount of dollars, whether it's core project or non-core project,
what are we saving, or what are we trying to save?
So what you're looking for is a statement that says we're spending $110 million to save $20 million, and that don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, having that math, sure, helps me make a decision today.
Well, understanding the statement helps us
Yeah,
figure out what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind spending money to save properties, but if I can make somebody happy and say, hey, I couldn't save your building, I'm gonna save your business, I'm gonna help you go somewhere else, but we need this property to make everything else work. We're still saving the business, not the building.
Well, we have to pay relocation, that's all part of the lab. We have to pay relocation, so anything we pay would be after what we already have to pay. We have to pay reestablishment, relocation.
Which we've done.
For all the properties that we bought down there, because if we want to get reimbursed or get credit for them, we have to follow the Uniform Act. This is why we follow the Uniform Act on all of them, because we want to be able to get credit.
With that information, one could then go look at other parts of town that have been redeveloped, and what those properties were, and make some sort of extrapolation that would say it's however many now, but it's out of the floodplain, be this much.
Yeah, we certainly could get some ranges on that. That's going to be tougher because you don't really know what's coming in. I mean, maybe a big one comes in, takes up a lot of real estate, but that might be the coolest thing that anybody would want versus a 12-story tower that,
How many
Merriam stations sit on that?
Okay. Well, please be thinking. Any last comments, thoughts? Okay. We will be hopefully coming forward in the next 60 days with something from the Corps that we can chew on, that we can look at, that we can kind of go, this is what this is what this isn't. I would be prepared to be underwhelmed because we're about 3 years into being underwhelmed at the staff level. So you're going to be tasked with making a tough decision to get married to somebody wearing a veil. So
how much time frame do we have for interpretation?
you'll have until late September, October. So what the point of having this conversation now is that if there is information that you need or believe you're going to need in May, June, July, August, September that requires time to get, we can start now, right? Like if there's something you need from the Corps, we can say, hey, as you're doing all this other crap to wrap all this up, you need to go run numbers on this because the council needs this information or they're not going to vote on it. Or if you need, I think I put into it, I think you've got, in my opinion, adequate feedback from residents. If you want to go have a downtown master plan where we go and get stakeholders and all that nonsense and figure out exactly what we're going to put there, I need to know down to the net tax what it costs. We need time to get all that to get you the information. Because the Corps, they're not going to wait forever, right? They're giving us a few months. So we need to start working on whatever you need, especially if it's outside of the Corps. The Corps, we can call them tomorrow and say, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. But if we've got to get consultants or we've got to engage the public, we need to start thinking about that so we can plan that out appropriately. We want to get you, the decision makers, the information you will need. Because you're the ones with pitchforks and torches and slings and arrows.
We were talking about marriage. What happens somewhere 5 years from now, and none of us who are in this room now, maybe a year, and the council wants to get divorced?
I would assume because of the cash basis law, we probably could back out of that, but we will have paid a whole lot of more money because once we sign the PPA, they move on to the next level of planning, and we're paying. Like that. So what we have done thus far, and this is part of being strategic. So when I've come to council and said, hey, we need a little bit more money than because we want to do boundary survey. What we have approved to, or this year, where we said, hey, we're just going to pay for half the year, I think $560,000 is the cost for our fiscal we only paid $300, because we are trying to be we don't want to pay more when there's a possibility we won't be here at the end of the year. We also don't want to pay for things, or we do want to pay for things that will be useful to us. We own all that data. So if we decide to say, hey, we don't think we want to do it, we have all of that flood data, we have all of that engineering, we have all of that survey data, we have all of that boundary, we know where the utility, whatever work has been done, it's ours. So we can say, we're not going to go forward with you guys, but hey, can you send us all that crap on a SharePoint file, and we can hand it over to whoever the heck we want to do option A, C, or D with. So we try to be very strategic about what we move forward with. So most of the things that we move forward with have some value to us if we choose not to go with the core. So we could part ways, and it's not, we're not starting all over, right? So in 5 years we can say, hey, but we likely will have paid a lot of money to get to where we are in 5 years. Because they're not going to, whether they believe we're going to get more money from Congress or not, they ain't going to stop until we're out of it. They will work until they spend their $24 million, which means we will work until we spend our portion, whatever, 35% of $24 million. So, the other thing with the core project that we have to keep in mind, for whatever it's worth, is there is a real possibility, I've said it and I'll say it again, that this is not going to be bang, 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 bang. This is going to be, when it's done, and I mean done like just the project's done, not like we go down there and walk our dogs and drink beer. I mean the core project's done. We're probably all gone. Like you're into the 30s. Like I'm certainly gone by then. I mean, so the core project is not going to be quick. So
that's what prompted my discussion, is that we'll make these decisions quick. We can do it. It's definitely to be.
Even and I'm talking about the money that's available. If tax pay what we want to do.
That shouldn't preclude us from thinking about the city far beyond our.
Oh, no, not at all. But the point is that I think that might be, for some, part of your calculus to say if it's going to cost the local chapter, being us in the county, $50 million for this option or $50 million for this option. This option, it might take 10, 15 years to get done. This one will be done in 4. That might be worth somebody's decision.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
You know, where you go, hey, this one gets me the whole creek out and takes 15 years. This one gets just downtown. We can start developing downtown in the current CIP, right? So those are going to be things that I think need to be at least mentioned as we try to determine what the best route is. So, quick summary, and it's great because we've already passed all this on before because this has been this way from the beginning. Really, if we don't get out of the floodplain, it's a non-starter. There's really no point to it. If it doesn't get us to a point of being able to develop the property, it's probably not worth it. $110 million, if that's the number, we're really starting to push our comfort level. That doesn't mean it's a no, but we're really we're starting to get a little dirty. So, those are really kind of the 2 lines of the thing, right? I mean, if the core project can't get everybody out, then that's not something. That's probably the number one. We like to keep the creek as amenity. The only way we can do that is either build taller buildings when we rebuild, or put trails on top. That's fine. And then we want some sort of deliverable that we can kind of see what the core project looks like from a site plan standpoint, so we can kind of chew on the impact that it has on the existing work.
I have one more question. If we end up going through with the core plan, or even just going on go at it ourselves, but especially the core plan, who's responsible for maintaining?
That is the drainage been part of this. Steve Roth has been at all of our meetings. He's part of the value engineering process.
Do they currently pull in enough taxes?
They do not. They do not. They will have to raise their mill. We just joked about that on Monday with them. But yes,
So that's concern for that.
It's their statutory responsibility. If they choose to not do that, then I would assume they would be in violation of something that would just precipitate a quicker failure of the drainage board. Maybe they dissolve and the city be forced to pick that up. I think, didn't they give us a number of $40,000 a year? They gave us a number that they thought, like, because just a spitball. That was a question he asked. He was like, hey, let's kind of figure out where we're at right now. Well, what's the O&M going to cost? I think they said, I think it's $45,000. I mean, they're very well aware that they're not just going to build and walk away. They've got to tell us what it requires. And, I mean, built into those walls and ditches, there's inspection trenches and all sorts of it. I mean, these are engineered piles of dirt.
That might even require the court to hire, drainage to hire more people to the.
Well, yeah. If you build a core project or any project like that requires ongoing maintenance, whether we build it and we assume operation maintenance or they do, residents pay for it. The question is just how much of people in the drainage district versus outside the drainage. It's their responsibility, and they're aware of that.
I just looked at, how the impact of the road bridge, infrastructure under the way of, he worked every reason on that bridge, and that to be removed or straightened out.
Are you talking about when you come across the track, what you found in there, that turn on the coupler?
That, we talked about how much stuff was full, right? Open it all up down so we can permit this to be, overflow into the current. That bridge, that big turn, that would be a big, where
the creek turns.
Where the creek turns.
Oh, not the road.
Yes, well, I mean, that's, if they turn it into what it needs, so, to change that.
They looked at that like 15 years, whatever is down there, that it is what it is. They're not even going that far. Their sphere of influence stops it. It's really just behind the church. Where it curves right there. They're starting to look at, there's a constriction right there, which is part of why they're looking at the bridge. So the creek curves under Merriam Drive Bridge and heads north again behind the bus garage. That's one of the narrowest points is just to the east of the Merriam Drive Bridge, back behind Doty's, behind ours, but behind Doty's, behind that bus garage. They're looking, that's one of the things that the value engineering team called out. That's one of their 25 things, is can we go in there and just widen all of that through there and do something with the bridge that they use across in the northern part of that lot. But that's the furthest extent that the project ever 50 visits. There was never anything to do. But they're aware, they've looked at that. That's clearly not the bottleneck enough that they feel like the geography or geometry is that for competition. Anything else? Everybody understand the gravity of the potential decision that we've got to make here, hopefully later than sooner? But it will have to be made. As you continue to think about that, if there are specific things that you want that we can get you, or at least start hunting on, please let us know, because you're going to have a big decision to make sometime this year on the future of, very least downtown, if not the whole extent of that group. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yes, and we also does the prayers and prayers, so we got to get well. My schedule allows me. Okay. So I know last year, a couple of guys. That's fine. That boom to the right on the room. That would be me. I'll just get it.
Let me tell you what happened.
Yeah, I was trying to get 10 seconds of AC noise to try to filter it out, if you don't mind. Once folks leave. Or at least some people are talking. AC's a disaster. Post them to YouTube. Share them with neighbors.
Even city council ones are already online.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yep, I think so.
Take it easy.
That's how me not knowing the number you told me.
Hey, I can get you too.
Details, please, I'm gonna fly over you. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think we should time stamp it, everybody thought about it.